Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. Be very evil. And you'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And he used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cell.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the pow.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it now.
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
The fans are back in town. What's going on, everybody? Welcome and happy Saturday afternoon to you. Happy Money in the Bank weekend. We are here to discuss the Money in the Bank pay-per-view tomorrow, predict that entire card, and discuss last night's great SmackDown. It was so nice to see the fans return to full force. Nearly a sold-out crowd in Houston. About 14,000 people were there, and it had a very, very awesome feel to the show last night. In many ways, it was even better than WrestleMania because WrestleMania was like a temporary back in business. Last night was for real back in business, and fans are going to be back until this country fucks up and screws up the vaccinations and we go back to lockdown again. But at least for right now, we are back, and it's a big, big weekend. Fans were packed the house last night. You know tomorrow night's Money in the Bank is going to be awesome, and hopefully Monday Night Raw can get back to some form of, entertaining level when they see the fans return this coming Monday, but that might be a big if on the heels of that Goldberg news. So Today on the Winged Eagle, it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to briefly run through last night's SmackDown, talk about the fans being back, talk about some of the final things they did to set up tomorrow's pay-per-view, and then we're just going to predict the entire Money in the Bank card. So it's not going to be very long of a podcast, probably just a little bit over an hour today. And then I'm going to be out of here because I got to go to work. This whole weekend is coinciding with the busiest weekend of the year for me at work, where I'm at in the summer. This particular weekend is just huge, and I am spread incredibly thin. But I have made plans to be home tomorrow and Monday. So tomorrow, not only are you going to get a Money in the Bank review from me after the show, we are going to live react to this entire thing. So the link is up on my channel now, and damn it, I forgot to post it in the description like I meant to, but it's over on my channel right now, very top of the page, tomorrow's live reaction link. So go over there, click it, notify it, hit it with a like, save it for tomorrow, and we're going to be up here about 15 minutes before the main card starts to react to the whole show, because Money in the Bank, much like Royal Rumble, a lot of unpredictability can happen there. A lot of these matches are longer. Instead of writing down, 2 pages of notes on, an 8-person match, I'd rather just kind of watch it with you guys and hang out, and we'll give a casual review tomorrow night after the show. So that's going to be on tap for tomorrow. You're going to get me probably for a solid 4+ hours tomorrow, and then Monday night, we'll be back for a Raw review and see how that Monday Night Raw goes. I'm extremely nervous about Goldberg. If we have time at the end of the podcast here, we will talk about those possibilities of what we might see on Monday, and we'll roll through a lot of scenarios for the pay-per-view tomorrow and what that could do to possibly set up SummerSlam. The order of the matches is going to play a big factor in what goes on tomorrow in terms of if we see a one-night cash-in. Based on the fact that WWE is back for the first pay-per-view with fans, excluding WrestleMania, of course, I feel like they're going to want some big moments here. And as we all know, WWE is much more about the moments than they are about the storytelling. So even if it doesn't make sense, they could have some big surprise, some big return, or something like that take place tomorrow, which is why I think they do burn one briefcase tomorrow. I think it's very likely. But we'll talk about all of those scenarios in a little bit when we get into Money in the Bank. First thing I want to do is say hello to the chat. Welcome you guys here. Shout out the patrons. Knock out a couple of super chats if we have them. And then we're going to get down to business here. Let me also do a sound check and make sure you can hear me and see me. I see myself. Do I hear myself? I do. Last Saturday, we had the microphone issue. My cat, there we go. Got a mic issue already. Looks like my cat or myself, one of us had bent my microphone cord, and I was scrambling trying to figure out last week when we had to go without it. I had to use my webcam mic. It was so annoying. But I got that issue resolved, so we're all good to go. And thank you for your patience for last week, because I don't believe I shouted out my patrons, which I'm going to do right now. Then we're cruising over to the chat. Everybody, current supporters on the Patreon page, thank you very much. JJ Leg, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Jay Smooth, Deshaun Robinson, Alex Dredge, Martin Can, Dre Leggett, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K, Dogs, Kennel, What's Up, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, John Redifer, Claudio Clavadetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry MK, who's probably here, Josiah, Blevins, Scott Moss, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, and Blake Moran. As always, guys, I appreciate all of your support throughout all of these years. Cruising over here to the chat to say what's up. Divine Ricks with a very early $5 super chat. I think that came in before we even went live here. Hey, Greg, I was wondering if Naomi or Tamina wins Money in the Bank, cash in on the SmackDown Women's Champion, and joins Roman and his Bloodline group. Would be interesting. The only reason I'll say no on that is because neither woman has really been. It would have to be Naomi because of her relationship to Jimmy and the fact that she has lost Lana, her tag team partner, where Tamina is one half of the women's tag team champions. So I don't think Tamina would be the one to do that. I actually don't think either one would do it, just because nothing's been building to it. There's been no evidence of this. Not that that would stop WWE, but I would actually like that scenario just based on who's in the Money in the Bank and who I think WWE's probably going to have to win these matches. I don't have Naomi or Tamina factored in at all. And what a letdown. Just what an uninspiring, underwhelming letdown for them to announce the final woman in the Money in the Bank. They just did it via social media, which really speaks volumes to the lack of depth they have in the women's roster. Great women's wrestlers there, but the way these everybody's just so spread out. You can't have these like exciting, compelling qualifying matches in the women's division. You can pretty much just put all the women in there, excluding a couple. And round out your field. So kind of wish they would have gone about that a different way, but Tamina is in there now, and we have our field set. But I would not be against Naomi doing that. That would be kind of cool. Naomi, I think, needs some sort of a change. I don't really feel the glow. I like Naomi. I think she's talented. However, there's something about her presentation that just doesn't really appeal to me. So if you give her a little bit of an edge, because she looks like she can kick some ass. You put her a little edgier, because Usos used to be all colorful like that, right? Coming out there in all their John Cena colors and shit. You kind of give Naomi a new attitude. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? She gets over, So I'm not against that idea. I just don't see it for tomorrow. Good to see. Ben Forbes is here. Nate, Ben Espinita is here. Chaz, David Brown, welcome back. I am doing well. Very warm over here in Scotland. Happy to hear it. It's very warm over here in California as well. Michael Cuomo's here. Shanus Maximus, how Wheezy. Nice. Monkey Wrench in the house. Good to see you here, Wheezy. Jet the Hawk. I've got Deshaun, I think I got you. George Morris, appreciate the $5. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? SmackDown, 0 out of 10. Good to see fans back. Someone is leaving bloody tissues in the laundry room. Everyone is cussing. Damn, in the laundry room? Isn't there a trash can right there? How hard is it just to throw that shit in the trash can? 0 out of 10. I'm surprised you didn't give it a 1 out of 10 just based on the fans. How stupid was WWE yesterday actually tweeting out encouragement for the fans to start that what chant shit? I'm like, why in the hell would you do that? What is wrong with this company? And luckily last night, you didn't hear really any of those what chants except for when Corbin was in the ring cutting his promo. They were whatting him a little bit, but at least WWE's tweet didn't start a chain reaction of hell for everybody involved. I cannot believe they tweeted that out. What idiots. Jimmy Anderson, greetings from Sweden. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate the super chat as well. Good evening to you. Glad you are here. Favorite Money in the Bank ladder match? Nate, I got to give them some thought because they all blend together in the last few years. I remember some of the early ones, like the first one, the second one and shit. I don't know. You guys help me. What's your best Money in the Bank ladder match? I can't even begin to think of them. Barry's here. What's up? Hey, Greg, have you seen the news of WWE trying to stop people from using a VPN to go to the WWE network? I did see that just a little while ago. I think that's... I think the Peacock numbers are bad. So they're actually actively trying to stop people from accessing it other ways. That's just so shitty. But it is what it is. It's not surprising based on the way WWE operates. Grega John, thank you for whatever that colorful thing is. And who else we got? Paul Carpenter is here. We've got Mike Maxon in the house. Charlie, right on. Transferring Heat podcast is here too. That should do it for the pleasantries for now. We got to get back down to business. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing more super chats. I've got one from Mike Maxon. Thank you for the $2. Vince was awesome. We're going to talk about Vince in just a minute. And Kevin Hefner, thank you for the $2 from you as well, man. I hope WWE doesn't bring back the Demon for a while. I want to see the Demon back, but yeah, that's something I feel like it's been absent for so long. You don't just bring it back 1 week on SmackDown without doing it, without mentioning anything. So I hope it's like a build to it. I hope he starts a program with somebody that brings the Demon out of him. I don't think Sami Zayn will be that person. I think Sami Zayn is going to be Finn Balor's introductory feud, way to get Finn Balor a win over a quality opponent and to continue Sami Zayn's conspiracy storyline that he's doing. So Balor kind of coming back and targeting him last night kind of made a lot of sense, at least for short-term storyline purposes. But whenever the Demon comes back, just make it matter. Make the Demon necessary. And help me out here. We never got Fiend and Demon, did we? We got Fiend and Balor, but never Fiend and Demon. Do I have that right? So maybe wait until, he crosses paths with the Fiend one day. I mean, assuming the Fiend is on SmackDown, which I think he is. Fuck, I don't know. You could have that happen. That could be, something going on later next year. That could be WrestleMania if you can hold it off that long. We'll see. But Balor being back on SmackDown, I just hope it is a better outing for him this time on the main roster than last time. I mean, main roster, he did a lot. He was on TV every week, Intercontinental Champion, did a lot of stuff. But I'd like to see Balor make it back to that Universal title. He was the first fucker to ever hold it and hasn't been within 10 miles of it since. So I'd be into that. Is Donald Trump coming back to WWE? No, I don't think so. All right, I think that got all the early questions out of the way there. Let's talk about SmackDown and all that good stuff. Like I said, for those of you just tuning in, tomorrow night we are going to live react to the entire Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be up here Monday night as well for a Raw review. And then next week, I plan to come up just like I usually do, probably Thursday. We'll talk NXT and AEW. AEW's got a big show on Wednesday. Then I'll be up here next Saturday, 1 week from today, for another Winged Eagle podcast. And 1 week from tomorrow, SummerSlam 1998, Highway to Hell watch along. We're going to do that 1 week from tomorrow. That's going to be fun. And then the very next day, I'm out of town. I hop on a plane. I go on vacation for a week. So I'm going to plan to release one classic SummerSlam review while I'm gone, probably midweek. Something like that, the week after next, and then that's all you're going to get from me, and then I won't be back, for over a week. So I will keep you guys abreast of that as we get closer, but keep that in mind. I'm about to head on vacay after next week, so a few more streams, and then I'm out of here for a little summer vacation and relaxing. I'm excited. Let's talk about last night's SmackDown. There's no real reason to spend a ton of time on last night's SmackDown because it was the go-home show. What's there really to discuss? Other than, the fans being back at a couple of cool moments there. So we'll run through the card here, or we'll run through the results here briefly, talk about what implications they might have for tomorrow or on tomorrow's matches, and then we'll get to predicting this card. I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to sit down right here in this chair, click on the pay-per-view, drink some beer, watch it with all of you. So hopefully you guys can tune in and join us tomorrow and get up on in this chat, and we'll have a good time watching the Money in the Bank, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. I'm even going to try to kind of predict the order of the matches, although I'm really not sure. You guys might have to help me with that. But before we do, let's talk about last night's SmackDown. Live from Houston. Apparently they had 14,000 people in attendance for this. Looked like a packed house. It was fantastic. Now, Houston... It's interesting because Houston, I believe, right? Houston is where all of the wrestlers got stranded during 9/11. And because I believe the day of the attack happened on the day that SmackDown was supposed to tape, like Tuesday, right? So they got stuck there. They were grounded. There was no planes in the air. They were stuck there for about 2 days. I think it was on the Thursday or Friday of that week that WWE held the first public gathering of any kind since the 9/11 attacks. And that was a very big emotional night. He had everybody, all the wrestlers out there, Vince in the ring, welcoming everybody back. I'm not a big fan of national pride or national anthems. I think that shit is silly, but it's probably the first time and probably the only time since that the national anthem really choked me up because it was a symbol of solidarity between all of us. What happened? Lillian Garcia is bawling her eyes out as she's singing that national anthem, and it's one of the most moving things WWE's ever done. So, being back in Houston last night for this was like, wow, it's kind of fitting that that's where they are. You can always count on that crowd to be American, and they were. So props to Texas, props to Houston last night. You're not the smartest state in the country, but you sure as hell know how to turn out and have a good time, and Houston was rocking. So props to the fans for not kind of, one thing I was really, really worried about is we've been anticipating the fans' return for so long that I was almost thinking it wasn't going to be able to live up to the hype, you know what I mean? And I still think there's going to be a honeymoon period, and there's going to be a time where the fans are going to be really energetic. But as time goes on, I think WWE is going to fall back into that, just fall back into that system of just kind of phoning in shows, you know what I mean? A lot of what they did last night on SmackDown was just shit we probably would have just seen in the Thunderdome. So it's not like it was that, crazy, but just the fans' involvement, what they add to the show, you realize last night how deeply they were missed with that empty arena shit in the Thunderdome. I don't think I was capable of standing one more week of that shit. I was so over it. I didn't even watch the final Raw, didn't even review it, didn't even look at it. Watched the YouTube clip of Bobby Lashley freaking out at the end of the show. That was it. That's all I saw. So I was more than ready to get out of this Thunderdome era and back into an era where we have fans, and at least, WWE might go back to sucking in a couple of months. But at least between now and SummerSlam, shit is going to be pretty good, you would think, because based on tomorrow, they're going to have some surprises. We got a lot of outstanding talent floating around there. Becky Lynch, The Fiend, help me out. There's like 10 of them. There's a whole bunch of wrestlers that kind of could make their return. Sasha Banks at any time, whether it be tomorrow or on Raw or at SummerSlam or whatever. We're going to see possibly, Goldberg, Cena, and Becky and all sorts of people coming back in. So it can be interesting, and it should be for the next couple of months. I just worry when we get into the fall and winter if WWE is going to start sucking again, and if AEW can maintain their high level of fan interaction, because the fans in AEW are just as energetic, if not more so, than the fans last night on SmackDown. So it's just a matter of which company can sustain that fan excitement. And AEW is doing pretty well. They sold, 15,000 tickets already for the Arthur Ashe Dynamite later on in September. WWE's, running a show ahead of them at MSG, of course, to try to stunt that growth. But they are failing miserably at hindering the ticket sales of AEW in Arthur Ashe, because they're going to have a pretty nice-looking house for that Dynamite. I'm ready for that. That's coming up in about 2 months. So fans being back last night was just a really nice thing to see. I mean, it was the nice video package they ran at the beginning of the show was also very cool, and just, kind of welcoming us all back. And we got an official welcome. Once SmackDown went on the air, we got a brand new set, by the way. We knew that they were going to be tweaking up the Raw and SmackDown sets, but at the same time, we knew it wasn't going to be anything too elaborate. The days of just really overwhelming sets are gone. It's all LED screens and LED lights now, so we knew that whatever they did was just going to be a reconfiguration of what they're already doing. So the new set, I'm assuming Raw will just look the same except red. The new set is just basically a giant screen, giant LED screen. It kind of reminds me of, maybe it was the set that they had prior to the pandemic. When was the quarter pipe, like the skateboard ramp set? Kind of reminded me of that a little bit, because the whole thing is just, so beautiful. I can't remember. Somebody did an interview, some former WWE employee, talking about how WWE prefers the LED sets over like the metal ones, because now that it's HD, the old sets, they could get beat up and banged up really bad between travel and shows and everything that happens to them, just normal wear and tear. And that would all be very noticeable now with HD cameras and shit like that. So the LED screens kind of eliminate that. And that's kind of why the sets have evolved into just being a whole hell of a lot of lights. The fucking ring posts light up now. The ring aprons light up. I hate that. I hate the lit up ring posts, because it takes away the post shots. Now when you ram somebody into the plastic post, it makes an awesome noise, but it's just plastic. I could hit a plastic beam and I'd be fine, Where in AEW, they've got square ring posts. They don't fuck around. These things have got edges on them, and they're metal. So I kind of think WWE just takes their production a little bit too far. I don't need my ring aprons to light up, and I sure as shit don't need my ring posts to light up either. Just give me a set, shut the fuck up, and move on. But that's not the way WWE does things. So you guys can tell me what you thought of the set. Did you like it? Did you not? Was it too overwhelming? Is it what you expected? They've got a lot of those, 3D effects and those 3D renders when Roman and others come out. That kind of adds a lot. But, all in all, WWE we know what they can do with their production, and it's just a big-ass LED screen. So we got that. And the show opened up with Vince McMahon. No matter how much this man is hated by all the fans, he always gets the pop of the night. Explain that to me. Every fan just does nothing but complain about Vince McMahon online, but yet when Vince walks out there, roof explodes. Vince comes out and he gets on the mic and he goes, "Where the hell have you been?" And then he just walks away. Very awkward. He almost didn't time it right. It just didn't look right. The fans were they chuckled, but I think they were expecting him to come back out and say more. And he just walked away. I actually kind of liked that, because he did welcome us to WrestleMania, gave a little bit of a speech. Here, it was more Vince McMahon, who probably is very relieved. Saw the picture of him working out today in his gym at 75 or 76 years old, whatever he is, doing it's leg day for Vince today. So the fact that Vince did that, came back, that was kind of fun to see, because Vince is probably fucking finally, he's probably been going nuts without any audience there, and to see his company kind of get back to business, I think was very satisfying for Vince McMahon, you know what I mean? So Vince welcomed us all back. That was nice. And they were off and running with an early 6-man tag to kick things off with the Bloodline. Roman Reigns and the Usos taking on Edge and the Mysterios. Help me out. When was the last time Edge wrestled on SmackDown? Edge and Rey Mysterio teaming up. Former tag team champions, correct? Back in the SmackDown days, the good old days. So it's kind of cool to see them back together. Pretty good 6-man here. Of course, this is all to set up what's going on tomorrow, because all 6 of these men will be facing each other in respective matches. In the end, the Bloodline got the win. Jey Uso pins Rey Mysterio and got the win for the family. After the match, Edge winds up getting his hands on Roman, spears him, breaks off the thing from the chair, and and does the deal to Roman. So Edge kind of got his last little word in there before their big title match tomorrow. After the match, backstage, Edge is talking to Kayla Braxton. And in comes Seth, wearing a pretty badass suit, I will say, but Seth is laughing his ass off. Seth is laughing so hard, it's pissing me off. That I'm like watching, I'm like, stop laughing. I want to reach through the screen and choke his fucking face or his neck. And I'm like, that's when you know you're a good heel, when you can piss me off. So he's just laughing. It's so annoying. Like if I was Seth, I would just like shoot punch him. I wouldn't even be able to handle it anymore. But he comes in laughing and talks some shit to Seth. And talks some shit to Edge and actually says that he's rooting for Edge on Sunday because he is in the Money in the Bank match and he's going to win the briefcase and he wants to cash it in on Edge and he wants to finish what he started 7 years ago. As we remember, they did that angle when Edge was retired where I think it was Big Show held Edge down to the mat and Edge and Seth was going to stomp him until I think Christian did something, Cena agreed to a match or some shit like that. I forgot what went on there. That might have been the SummerSlam match, actually, that they set up for back then. But that was, that promo backstage is kind of setting up what we all had a feeling we were going to see at SummerSlam, Seth Rollins versus Edge. Now, is that going to be Seth Rollins challenging Universal Champion Edge? Is that just going to be a one-on-one grudge match, or is Seth going to have a briefcase? It could, like, the match at SummerSlam could have a lot of different twists on it, but it's 100% obvious that's the match we're going with at SummerSlam, Edge versus Rollins. That should be good. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep our eye on that and see what happens tomorrow, and if Rollins shows his face in that title match, because since he's got all the history with Roman and he's building this thing with Edge now, having Seth have the briefcase could offer a lot of intriguing possibilities, and I think he's probably the best candidate. He's not my pick. You'll hear my pick later, but I think he's the best candidate in terms of like some of the really cool things you can do. So we'll see, but Edge and Rollins is on the horizon, and that is not so bad. Out next, we had Sami Zayn coming out to cut a promo, and he's pissed, of course, because I think it was the last man standing match that was the qualifier that Owens got in. He did not, and he goes on and on about WWE continuing to have a conspiracy against him, continuing to hold him down, and purposely keeping him out of Money in the Bank, even though all he had to do was win, and he'd be in Money in the Bank. He's bitching, he's whining, and out comes Finn Balor. Balor's music hits. He's kind of like NXT Balor, he's got the Prince thing and the X on the Tron and all of that, and comes out to the ring, and you kind of knew what was going to happen here. This is just like Santino being in the ring back in the day or somebody else. Sami's going to get his ass kicked, and Sami is very happy to see Finn at first, kind of welcomes him back, and then Finn Balor proceeds just to kick his ass and hit him with a coup de grace, and Finn Balor is on SmackDown. This surprised me a bit because I think as we've been talking about Balor ever since dropping the NXT title, most of us have kind of had in our heads that he'd be Raw. I don't know why. It just felt like he'd be Raw. Maybe that's because where he was before. But putting him on SmackDown, I think is fine. I think it's better for him creatively to be on SmackDown because Raw is such a pile of monkey shit. So if he's on SmackDown, at least he's going to be featured, a little bit more prominently, and I would love for him on the other side of Roman and Cena or whatever to potentially get another shot at that Universal title. Would really like to see that for Finn Balor. He left the main roster for a year or so. Help me out. When he came back to NXT, were fans back yet? Did he come back to NXT pre-pandemic? Barry, anybody? I don't even remember. But he's been gone. It's got to be a year plus, right, since he's been gone. So I think him returning, for him just to fall right back into the same spot on the roster that he was in before would be a huge waste. Finn Balor is fucking Finn Balor. He's awesome. So we'll see in the future if Finn Balor decides to form maybe his own WWE version of the Bullet Club, if he goes back to being the Demon, both, whatever. All I hope that he does not do is flounder and just have meaningless matches followed by 3 meaningless rematches for the following month, which is what they seem to do with a lot of their people on Raw and shit. So we'll see what Finn Balor does. Welcome back, and I'm sure we're going to be getting a Finn Balor and Sami Zayn match in the extreme near future. Don't know if that's something that's going to stretch all the way to SummerSlam, or if they just knock out a couple of battles between these two guys on SmackDown. I don't know. But like I said, a lot will be answered starting next week after Money in the Bank. Couple of more victims of WWE's name-shortening policy. Shotzi and Knox. Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart. Looks like they've dropped Tegan for some reason. I don't know why. Shotzi Blackheart, I guess I can understand. Blackheart, that's a mouthful, but I like Shotzi Blackheart. They got, at least from what I saw, I was trying to watch SmackDown and make notes at the same time. Didn't even look like we got an entrance for them. I think the live crowd got it. Crowd at home looked like they got the jobber entrance. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. X. He came back in 2019. Remember, it was the first night of NXT versus AEW. No kidding. I did not remember that. Okay, so yeah, he was there about 6 months prior to pandemic. So yeah, it's been a while now. So it's been near a year and a half, nearly 2 years since he returned there. Interesting. I had completely forgotten it. It was the same night. Huh. The same night that was it Hager debuted on the first Dynamite, I think. Anyway, back to Tegan and Shotzi. They are taking on the tag team champions again, Natalya and Tamina, and you've got Liv Morgan and Zelina Vega on commentary. They will not shut the fuck up the whole time. In the end, Knox and Shotzi get the win over the tag team champions. I think it's Shotzi pins Natty? I forgot. Somebody pinned Natty. Natty's surprised. They're all freaked out. Lots of extracurricular activity going on as well because Liv and Zelina, as they're jaw-jacking with each other on commentary, they wind up brawling on the outside of the ring. All sorts of stuff happening. In the confusion is when Shotzi and Knox get the victory. So they've come on to SmackDown in a big way, beat the champions like a couple times or something like that. And now I'm sure that will lead to a tag team title shot for them. But I don't know. WWE seems to just brought them up, and I mean, I guess I can't say they're not doing anything with them because they're facing and defeating the tag team champions, but what a weird team and what a weird decision to shorten up their names. I don't know what to make of that. We also have, or next up we have, the SmackDown Women's title on the line. Bianca Belair defending against Carmella. Of course, Bianca was supposed to defend tomorrow against Bayley, but our Bayley has gone down with a tragic knee injury. She's going to be out a year, 9 months or so. And that sucks. So she's not around. So they bumped the SmackDown Women's title match to SmackDown and gave us Carmella as Bayley's replacement. This was not an I quit match the way tomorrow's match was supposed to be, just a straight one-on-one match. Bianca Belair won with a hair whip, and then a KOD for the win. So I don't think Bianca has busted out the hair whip since WrestleMania. I'm not sure, but last time I remember her doing it was when she slapped Sasha in Florida with that ponytail, and I heard it here in San Diego, California. That's how loud it was. Not much of a loud smack on this one, but she did easily dispose of Carmella. After the show on YouTube, WWE released a promo of Carmella bitching about this loss, saying that she only had 6 days to prepare. So what are they going to do? We're going to get a rematch. Of course we are. Why wouldn't we? Next week on SmackDown, Bianca Belair is going to defend the SmackDown Women's title again against Carmella. Not sure if the announcement of that match spoils in any way maybe a Money in the Bank briefcase holder, or at least in terms of what they're not going to do. So I guess tomorrow what they're not going to do is cash in on Bianca Belair, which is fine. Bianca should go into SummerSlam face Sasha again, I think. So that probably makes the most sense there, but since they have booked that match now, not that WWE can't change shit, they do all the time, but I think Bianca's title is safe, until, at least next week. Well, then again, she's not wrestling tomorrow, so there will be no opportunity to cash in on her. Maybe the winner could cash in next week's title match. Still, I doubt it. I think Bianca Belair is safe here. And because her match with Bayley got bumped, that kind of changes my pick a little bit for Money in the Bank. If that match would have stayed intact, I really am going to be picking Morgan. Picking Liv, man. I just think there's a story there. I think the crowd would love it if she won, but maybe not love it so much if she beat Bianca Belair. So I'm kind of ruling Liv out now for the Money in the Bank ladder match, which means you could probably guess who my pick is going to be later, because there's really only like 1, maybe 2 or 3 real options to win that thing, and I think you guys know who it will be. We got a vignette, a promo package, tiny one, announcement for the debut of Toni Storm next week. So next week on SmackDown, we've got a SmackDown Women's title rematch, and we've got Toni Storm debuting next week. And I have a feeling, based on what the kickoff match on the pay-per-view is tomorrow, we're going to be getting a tag team title match next week as well. Mark my words. Or if not next week, the week after is going to happen. After that, we got a promo with Baron Corbin bringing his sorry ass out to the ring. His hair's all growing out now. Then he's just a fucking complete mess. he's going, I like this depressing Corbin. This was the only time I really heard the what chants all night. Maybe somebody said we heard him a little bit in the end. What is this? This is not a rumor. Stop spamming in here. Let me tell you something, Edie. You don't have access to any more information than any of us do. So anything that you are aware of, we are aware of too, and you don't need to type it 3 times. Thanks. So anyway, Baron Corbin's in the ring. He's a mess. He's just depressed. He's broke. He's broken. He's been doing an excellent job leading up to this backstage with his depression and just walking away and being so down. He looks like a broken, defeated man, and he's pulling it off well. Even though on social media, I think he's still living his life, but at least in storyline here, he's broke and he's got no money and his kid's eating canned spaghetti. So he says that, he says that he has no more investments. He's lost his investments. I don't know how you lose your investments just because you lost a match. You'd have to cash in your investments or cash them out and then spend all the money. I guess that's what he's done. So he has no investments. He has no savings. The bank is threatening to foreclose his house. And his 2-year-old is eating spaghetti out of a can instead of the Wagyu beef that the family enjoys. And things are so bad, he says, that they might even have to be moving in with his wife's parents. I would love it if his wife left him and took the kids and left him at his last living in a cardboard box outside of the Performance Center. That would be funny. But he goes on and on about just how bad his life is and lets everybody know that he has set up a GoFundMe, a Baron Fund Me or a Corbin Fund Me. And the goal is to raise $100,000. And I guess if you go to this, it's not legit because I'm like, WWE, don't do that because there are fans that would donate. There would be fans that would donate. And I would hate them to take everybody's money with a phony, fucking fundraising thing or whatever. You can probably get arrested for that, or that's against the law or something. You're not allowed to do that. So I think the website is actually kind of bogus, or you go to it and it says it's under construction and you'll be able to donate later. So at least they're not actually accepting people's money. But Baron Corbin is begging the fans. He goes, just a little bit, $1 or $2. All I need is $100,000. That's all I need. And he starts getting on his knees to beg. That's when Kevin Owens' music hits. He comes out. Corbin goes on and on, still trying to talk about how bad everything is. Owens hadn't said a word, finally just gets sick of listening to it, kicks Corbin in the gut, lays him out with a stunner, and music plays, and that's it. So Corbin continues just to be in this downward spiral. I guess now he might be entering in a little program here with Kevin Owens, and I guess the only way out of this, I would think, is for Owens and Corbin to have a match with some money on the line or something like that. Because even though I think Baron Corbin is doing a really good job in this persona, it doesn't make any sense. Like I'm all for suspending disbelief and everything, but you're still a WWE wrestler. I don't know how much Corbin makes, but I would guess he's probably in the 400,000 range, maybe 700,000 range. That might be shooting a bit high, but he's making probably $500,000 from WWE. So if you divide the year into 5, that's just like 2.5 months. So in 2.5 months, your salary should be $100,000. So why are they not bringing? They always act like wrestlers wrestle for free. Back in the day when Vince wanted everybody to have jobs, we had a trash man in the ring. If you're a trash man and you get signed by the WWE, guess what? You're quitting your trash man job. Same thing with T.L. Hopper and a plumber and all this other shit they used to do. Doesn't make any sense. So Baron Corbin, he should be fine financially because I'm not sure if Baron Corbin notices, but he's an employee of the WWE. He's a WWE superstar. He's got action figures. He's on TV every week. You don't get paid $4 an hour for doing that. You get paid pretty handsomely. So I don't know what his excuses are for why he can't use any of his WWE money to take care of his financial problems. I don't know. But regardless of how none of it makes any fucking sense, Corbin does really well in the role, and he really makes you, maybe not last night, but a couple times in the backstage stuff, I felt for him. I felt bad for him. I was like, shit, I want to give him $5. If I ever see him on the intersection when I'm driving with a sign, a little dog, he's getting $5 from me. So anyway, Baron Corbin, will continue to monitor your situation, and that all is pretty hilarious. I think that only left us with, we had Otis and Cesaro and Gable. I think Cesaro beat him. Otis came in the ring and beat him up, and they did something backstage too. So maybe Gable and Otis are going to be used as ways to get Cesaro back on the winning track. I mean, Otis has been kind of looking like a pretty badass heel monster right now. But, Cesaro, they tried to give him a push. He got a match against Roman Reigns, little program with Rollins, and they gave him that, and now he's kind of back to sort of doing nothing again. So maybe this is a way to get him back on the winning track and do something fun on the roster. Has Finn Balor and Cesaro ever done anything together? I'm sure they've had matches, right? Maybe they can start something, alliance, feud, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that leaves us with the main event, an advertised main event with the SmackDown side of the Money in the Bank ladder match taking part in a fatal four-way. Big E taking on Kevin Owens, taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins. Pretty decent little match here. Nothing elaborate in the end. Seth won by stomping Big E on the ladder and getting the pin. And after Seth won, he actually climbs the ladder and unhooks the briefcase and does the photo op with the briefcase. So what does that mean? I don't think he's going to win the briefcase tomorrow. I just whenever they do that, it never turns out to be the person that wins it, It's kind of like how at the end of the six-man in the beginning, Edge put down Roman, held up the Universal title. What are you doing, dude? So it's kind of the same thing here. Seth was a very big possibility for me in terms of a pick for tomorrow, but it drastically went down after they gave Seth that little moment last night, much like they did to Edge in the beginning. So Seth kind of closes out the show victorious, and after the show, they actually did a battle royal, like a dark match battle royal for the audience there. Big E won the battle royal. A lot of the wrestlers stayed in the ring, kind of hanging out with the fans, and Big E cut a promo and talked to the fans and addressed the WWE Universe. And to me, that's a big indicator there for Big E possibly winning tomorrow. WWE wants to make him, I think, a big babyface. The fans react to him. They love him. And he is now the guy that's being used to close out shows and shit, just like John Cena used to do back in the day. And he really is on SmackDown. Help me out. He's your biggest babyface, right? He's your biggest babyface. So he should be the guy to do that. So, we might be having him penciled in for later. You'll just have to stay tuned and wait to hear my pick for Money in the Bank. And the other big news I want to mention about SmackDown took place before the show. In a dark match, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Harry Smith, is back in the WWE. We kind of had a feeling he'd be coming back in. He was involved with his dad's Hall of Fame induction this past year at WrestleMania. And there was talk that he had actually already been re-signed. So seeing him there wasn't that much of a shock, but actually physically seeing him there was like, wow, cool. It's been a long time since he was in WWE. He left and went to Japan and went and did a lot of other things, and MLW, and now finding his way back there. I love Davey Boy Smith, so obviously I'm going to root for Harry very hard, and we'll see where that goes and when he debuts on TV and what kind of a character he's going to have. He had a promo as well that I think is on their YouTube channel where he said he took a lot of time off from WWE to grow as a performer, and he wants to show the WWE management and universe how far he has come and how different he is from the last time he was there. So welcome back, Harry Smith. So glad to see him there. I hope he wears the Union Jack tights and comes out with Davey's cape and everything. I really hope so. Maybe even bust out the old music and dust that off. That would be pretty cool. So anyway, welcome back, Harry Smith. And last night's SmackDown was a pretty solid show. Like I said, nothing great. This could have all easily happened in the Thunderdome. But having the fans there, just having them there reacting to shit is just really nice to see. It was awesome. So anyway, that was your SmackDown last night in a nutshell. And we'll predict Money in the Bank now after I cruise back over here to the chat and knock out a couple more super chats and see what you guys have to say. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button if you would. My likes have been the most alarmingly down analytic of everything right now on the channel. I don't know what is going on. So please hook this fucking video up with a like because it's getting extremely discouraging. So help me out. I would definitely appreciate that. And I'm going to go back over here to the chat now and mess around with these super chats, and then we'll start predicting Money in the Bank. All right. Spazz Phoenix is back. What's up, dude? Thanks for being here. Thanks for the $5. Shoot over to Spazz Phoenix's YouTube channel and subscribe to him. Good conversation over there. That's right. We got Slammiversary coming up probably about an hour after I stop streaming here, shortly after I stop streaming. I believe it's Sami Callihan, Kenny Omega. I have that right? So I won't be watching that. I might not even get a look at it until way late tomorrow. I'm not sure. But if you are watching that, please have a good time tonight. Spazz says, I know I'm cutting it pretty short, but I've got previews up for Slammiversary and Money in the Bank available now on YouTube and Spotify. Cheers, guys. Yeah, go check out Spazz's preview of Slammiversary. He probably knows that card a lot better than I do. I have no idea. And, yeah, I'm always coming up with my predictions kind of late, too, because the pay-per-view is tomorrow. But I'm kind of in the same boat. But thanks for that, Spazz, as always. Michael Cuomo, thanks for the $5. Speaking of 9/11, I think it's cool that Tajiri was the U.S. champion at that time. He won it the night before. Oh, he did? No kidding. He won it on Raw? Yeah, because 9/11 was a Tuesday. I remember that. I guess I remember watching Raw the night before. I'm sure I did. I taped it. Didn't even realize that Tajiri was the champ at the time. Spazz is back with 5 more. Thanks again. For first shows back with fans, I think Impact and WWE got easy wins with Money in the Bank matches and Ultimate X match. Always fan-pleasing. Yeah, exactly. WWE's picking a pretty good pay-per-view to have fans back for the first time, of course, excluding WrestleMania, because, provided you have the right people winning and shit, this can be a really exciting show for fans. They can really get excited for a lot here with the possibilities of the winners, losers, and possibilities of cash-ins. Adds a lot. Plus, we got to see some sort of return tomorrow night, right? Becky Lynch, Sasha, something like that. It's going to be really tough to predict returns, so I don't know how I'm going to really be able to do that as we're predicting the show here, but I think somebody has got to come out as a surprise somewhere. We got a lot of missing pieces. Another missing piece is Randy Orton. Wouldn't be surprised to see Randy Orton make his presence known as well in that men's match. So we'll see. We've got Randy Orton, The Fiend, Becky Lynch, Sasha, John Cena, who I think is coming back next Friday on SmackDown, Goldberg, who I think is coming back possibly on Monday. And I think there's some other bits and pieces floating around out there that could be coming in as well. So we'll see. We will see. Choke his face. Yes, Michael, earlier on I wanted to choke Seth Rollins' face. Make his face stop breathing. Deshaun Robinson, thanks for the $5 from you as well. SmackDown Set is actually the Mania 35 LED screen, but the screen is square instead of rectangle. And the Raw is expected to have a new different set. Okay, yeah, I saw a lot of the comparisons to Mania 35 yesterday. They're like, it's just the Mania 35 screen. And I think Mania 35 was just a enormously long LED screen. So that's all SmackDown is. Raw might have a new set that doesn't look exactly like SmackDown, but it's just going to be screens. It's just going to be a different configuration of the same shit, and it's going to be red. That's it. So I am not that optimistic that Raw is going to be really super crazy new or anything like that. It's going to be just a different configuration of LED screens. It'll probably look good for about 3 weeks, and then we'll be sick of it and ready to move on to something else. And speaking of Raw and SmackDown, last night on SmackDown, I don't recall seeing the full SmackDown intro. I think they might be working a new one of those out for, now that fans are back. And I kind of hope Raw does the same thing. I don't dislike the Raw theme song at all, because that's kind of new. They just changed it to that, and a lot of people were praising it. It's about time they kind of had like a more of a hip-hop song as the intro of Raw instead of the hard rock shit they used for, 30-plus years or whatever. But with that being said, I also think that I am forever going to associate this terrible era with that Raw theme song. When I hear that song in my head, I just immediately think bad. It triggers a negative reaction and a negative chemical in my brain, because all of these Raws since that song debuted as the intro have sucked. We've been in the Thunderdome. Nothing is any good, and it just doesn't remind me of anything good. Bobby Lashley's theme song is kind of like that too. Every time I hear it, I'm just thinking of this era. It reminds me immediately of that. So if they're going to change the Raw set, I might suggest changing the theme as well. I feel bad for whoever it was that produced or made the theme, but maybe or put a twist on it or something. It can still be a hip-hop song. That's fine. I don't care. But just maybe something else that's not going to immediately make me associate it with a very bad time in the worst era in the history of wrestling. If you thought 94, 95 was bad, try sitting through that Thunderdome shit again. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So we'll see what happens on Monday. I'll be up here for a review. Should be fun. So, let me make sure there's no other supers. I don't think there is. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I got Spazz, got Michael, got Deshaun, got Spazz again. I got Kevin. All right, we're good. We good. Keep smashing the thumbs up button for me. Make sure you subscribe, and also be here tomorrow for the live reaction. As a matter of fact, let me just click that link right now. So I'm going to be putting a link in the chat right now. I'll just go Money in the Bank reaction. So if you guys are in there, just click it, like it, notify yourself. Paste the link. There we go. There's tomorrow's Money in the Bank reaction, which you are going to hear about 20 seconds after I said that. Ben Espiniza, my favorite SmackDown theme is the Rise Up by Drowning Pool, and my favorite Raw theme is Thorn in Your Eye. I have both songs saved to my Spotify list. Drowning Pool, Rise Up. Yeah. Man, they all kind of run together now. I do remember the Thorn in Your Eye. That was like the Raw is War one. And yeah, SmackDown's had some decent themes. They have. But not the two that I just don't like either one of them right now. I'm not really a fan of the "Are you ready for a good time?" I mean, I am, but not in WWE's way of thinking. And then, yeah, the Raw song is just all forever going to be stuck in my head as a Thunderdome song, where the SmackDown stuff started prior. I was actually at the first SmackDown on Fox in LA. Brock beat Kofi. The Rock came out. I was in the crowd for that. And I think that was when they debuted kind of that new song and the new set with the weird parentheses things that they had in the entranceway. So it's all new now. So we'll see what they do on Raw Monday. Hey, Zayn G. We got some new ones in here. Zayn G, Ratnick, Goodfella, Trade, Domination Warrior. Good to see you. Anito Jack, McLean, Mr. E, Javon, Atomic Cody. Right on. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea there, Javon Harrington. Cesaro and Davey Boy Smith Jr. will probably be a tag team managed by Natalia, I guess, like he was with Tyson that helped the division, and David could be a good fit for the Intercontinental title. That's true. That's true. Him and Cesaro teaming up. Natalia being a manager, though, I don't think if she would need to be a part of that this time. I think with Kid, it was because he was a Hart family, adopted member, plus he's married to her, and they were technically all family. And Cesaro and Kid also have a history, but I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I'd be into it, though. I'd be perfectly into that. No issue with that at all. Oh, McLean, you were super late to the podcast. I can't forgive you for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you just have too many important things to do than hang out with us. So I guess, whatever. McLean. What are we going to do with McLean Roche? Going to have to block him, I guess. Yeah, thank you for that, Ratnick. The parentheses. I know, Daniel, it's not AC/DC I don't like. I just don't like the theme that much. Just not my favorite. It's a little cheesy to me. Joey's Adventures, thank you for the $5. Knowing Bray Wyatt, he's going all out for his return, so they might not want him returning the same night as Goldberg. That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't have penciled them in returning on the same night either, especially if he's going to be on if he's going to be on Raw with Goldberg. But Bray Wyatt on SmackDown would keep them separated. But Goldberg coming back in from all the reports that we've heard. The deal here is because he's got a contracted match left for this year. He's signed on for 2 matches a year through next year. So we have no choice but to see him. So if WWE wants to bring him in to burn off one of those matches and have him lose to Lashley, fine. But based on everything we saw happen with the Fiend in Saudi Arabia, it makes us all very, very nervous. And it is possible that WWE, it's a small possibility because once they decide they're doing something, they're doing it. It got a lot of backlash when that story broke. Everything you saw, at least on Twitter, regarding Goldberg's return was 100% negative. Negative post after negative post after negative post, too many to count. Negative Goldberg posts were trending on Twitter. That's how bad the reaction to that was. So I'm hoping that WWE sees this and is like, maybe we better not, or something like that. Or if they bring him in, just do what they did with Drew. Have Lashley beat him, which again is just so unnecessary to me to have him be in there. I'm happy that Lashley could potentially get a win in the record books over Bill Goldberg, but, there's always that lingering chance that, that he could lose. But, then again, if he did, I don't see that as much of a possibility unless WWE has said, hey, Goldberg, you want to work 4 matches this year? You want to work 5? And they sign him on to do a few more. If he's just coming in to do a contracted match, I understand that WWE can piss us off, and I understand that WWE does a lot of foolish things, but That's something that I just don't think is going to happen. So, with them putting the belt on Goldberg, where with the Fiend in Saudi Arabia, it was a whole different deal because it was right before WrestleMania and all of that. So, if Goldberg comes back, maybe they can do a return match down the road between the Fiend and Goldberg. I mean, I'd be into that. I mean, would it be worth Goldberg beating Bobby Lashley just so the Fiend could come in and get his win back and beat Goldberg for the title? I don't think they'll do that, but you wonder if it would be worth it. But regardless of what they do on Monday, if Goldberg comes back or not, and if he does set up a match with Lashley, Goldberg better fucking lose. Because I'm going to be there at SummerSlam. If you guys are going to be there, shoot me a DM on Twitter. Starting to work out some details on a little meetup or something like that right now. And I guess TakeOver, I guess TakeOver will be Sunday in between SummerSlam and Monday Night Raw, so I'll be home back here to watch TakeOver, but I was hoping could maybe watch it there in Vegas with a bunch of you guys. Not sure. But anyway, starting to figure stuff out, so keep that in mind for SummerSlam if you're going to Vegas. Let me knock out 2 more Super Chats, and then we're predicting Money in the Bank. 7 matches on this card, including 1 on the kickoff, so 6 on the main card. Mike Maxon is back with $2. I agree, dude. The fans will cheer Goldberg Monday for sure. Oh, I thought you were going to say boo. So you think they're going to cheer him, huh? The fact that they're back and they're freshly back makes me think that they are going to cheer anything. If Goldberg has any chance of being cheered at all, I think it'll be this Monday. Anything after that, I think the fans are going to reject him. I kind of hope they do. The fans need to step up here. Because they're loud as hell on the internet. They never shut the fuck up on Twitter, but when it comes down to like actually doing something, they don't. It's like everybody says that they hate Goldberg and they comes back out and they chant his name and cheer for him and all that stuff. So kind of like how with Vince, like we talked about earlier. So what I'm hoping happens is Goldberg comes out and he is booed out of the fucking building. And WWE realizes, we're stupid. Because they are. Spazz, Jesus, Spazz, thank you for the very generous $20, man. Wild Money in the Bank booking. Morrison comes out, Ricochet comes out, Owens gets taken out by Zayn, Rollins by Edge, Riddle by Orton, Drew by Jinder, Big E by Apollo, Nakamura by Corbin. Money in the Bank match becomes just Morrison versus Ricochet. Oh, my God. That would be pretty hilarious. I'd be all down with that, except Morrison and Ricochet have had a couple of matches on Raw already, so all you'd be doing is just doing that again. But their matches have been good. Falls Count Anywhere, apparently, I didn't see it, but on Monday was pretty good. A lot of people praised it, and those guys have history. Worked together in Lucha Underground. They're both stupidly athletic, and that would be pretty hilarious. But you'd be restarting 2 kind of dead feuds if you did that. I kind of feel like Apollo and Big E have moved on from each other, and Nakamura and Corbin have as well. So they'd all have to, maybe Corbin and Owens, and Owens and Zayn for that matter, would be rekindling. So maybe Corbin and Owens can cancel each other out. Jinder can come out and fuck with Drew. Rollins can mess with Edge, and Orton can cost Riddle. And yeah, then that could possibly happen. But that's an interesting scenario. Interesting scenario. Good, Jackson. I'm doing very good. Thank you, man. Don't get me wrong. I don't want Goldberg to win, but how can you not chant Goldberg when you hear his theme? I can. Well, I mean, back in the day, yes. I mean, back when Goldberg, but, bringing in a 50-plus-year-old person to get title matches, it kind of takes all that magic away. But I'll never deny, even though I was never a big Goldberg fan, I'll never deny what a huge star he was. And he was really the only guy that WCW ever created, ever. He was like he's a legend, man. The Goldberg chants and the presentation, the fireworks, and how bad he looked, and the breathing smoke and all of that, and the chanting, the Goldberg chanting. But even back then, even when Goldberg was at the peak of popularity, WCW was piping in Goldberg chants, and WWE was piping in Goldberg chants too. So I can refrain from the Goldberg chants now in 2021. Maybe 15 years ago, it would be hard to ignore it, and you'd want to get wrapped up in the Goldbergness. But now it's just leaves a sour taste in your mouth, because he's not the Undertaker. At least with the Undertaker, this is WWE's godfather. He's been there forever. If he wants to come back in and work a match when he's 76 years old, I'm not going to complain about it. But Goldberg, it's a completely different story. It's he's just so unwelcome. And I don't dislike him personally. I just don't want him on TV. I don't want him in wrestling matches, and I don't want him getting title shots at all. It's just, no. You can come in and do something. The dude is in such physically good shape that it's not like I don't even mind him being there, Because I think if you're in that type of shape when you're in your 50s, you should be able to show that off to the world. And if you're capable of doing something physical, you should do it. But just not on the top of major. Look at the money this moron is making. He got a title shot at the Royal Rumble. Now he's going to come around and get a title shot at SummerSlam for doing nothing? Fuck that. Fuck that. Goldberg and Riddle. Oh, Slim Jim, you have Riddle win the briefcase tomorrow. Goldberg beats Lashley at SummerSlam. Riddle comes in and cashes in on Goldberg. Okay, maybe there's a scenario where I can actually accept that. That would be good. That would be. I should do a charity event stream for Baron Corbin. We totally should. No, that would be dishonest because I wouldn't be giving him the money. I'd be keeping it, and that would be dishonest. So can't do that, but that would be pretty hilarious if we did it all serious, like, completely in character, just wishing our friend Baron Corbin the best and hoping that he gets back on his feet and all that stuff. Oh my God, that would be funny. Let me just raise my head up a little bit so you guys can see me a little better. There we go. Feel like I was a little down. All right, well, let's get into predictions. Money in the Bank 2021 goes down tomorrow from Dallas, Fort Worth, I believe, is the venue for this. It's going to be a hot crowd. I am ready. 7 matches on the card, 1 on the kickoff. The kickoff match is very telling. I didn't realize this was on the kickoff until I was making my notes. The Usos challenging Rey and Dominic Mysterio for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. That match is on the kickoff tomorrow. Now, if this would be a main card match, I would predict the Usos hands down here because I think the Usos, Jimmy getting arrested fucked everything up, but we're just putting that out of our heads right now. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. If that didn't happen, I think WWE absolutely would put the tag team titles on the Usos, and you can have Roman and his cousins all with championship gold, in the group there. That would be nice. But since they're putting this on the kickoff, and since last night the Usos and Roman got the victory over the Mysterios, I think the Mysterios are going to retain. But there's going to be an asterisk behind this retaining. I think Rey and Dominic are going to retain somehow. They might not even get a pin. It might be a disqualification or something, but somehow they're going to leave this match with the titles, and we're going to get a rematch next week on SmackDown like in the main event. If it doesn't happen next week, I think it's going to happen on the week after. It's going to happen very, very quickly after this. I think that the Usos will win the tag team titles, but I think they're going to win the tag team titles on SmackDown. Might be a good way to give us something big on a show with fans back, because if you do a title change here, it's going to be in the middle of all this other stuff. It's going to be in the middle of 3 world title matches and 2 Money in the Bank matches. Could easily get lost. Where if you give it a more, prominent role on a show, like make it the main event of a SmackDown, let's say next week, then that could be, especially if Cena comes back and all that coincides with each other, it'd be pretty badass. I think the Usos will win the tag team titles, just not tomorrow. They're going to win it next week on SmackDown or the week after. That's my prediction. So the Mysterios walk out as champs tomorrow. Main card time now. One thing is for sure, and I need you guys' help on this, which one it's going to be. One of those Money in the Bank matches will open the show tomorrow, 100%. It's either going to be the women or it's going to be the men, because you have to have at least one of these matches take place before the world title matches. So if you start with the women, you can have Rhea and Charlotte later on and potentially do a cash in there. It's also possible you start with the men, because that's another thing you got to remember here. Your opening match. What do you want this crowd to see first? Granted, they're going to get a kickoff match with the Usos and the Mysterios. But the first main card match back, which match would be better in that spot? Some people think the men's Money in the Bank could be the main event. I think it's got to happen early, and I kind of think it's going to be the men opening up the show tomorrow. I just kind of have that feeling, but I'm not positive. So we're going to hold off on the men for a second. Let's predict the women's first. I think it's also very possible that the women could open up the show. Women's Money in the Bank match here is the field: Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Naomi, Zelina Vega, Nikki ASH, Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Tamina. My pick, the one I want to win, is 100% Liv Morgan. I think that WWE has tried a couple of things with her a few times. They did the stuff with Lana. Then they did the vignettes where she's all sexy in the bathtub. And they were doing all these things, and just nothing ever came of it. Then she was back in the Riot Squad. Then Ruby got released. Liv Morgan is the definition of floundering. She's there. They're not releasing her. They like her. She's pretty good in the ring. She looks great. She's got cool theme music. Presentation is there. There's no reason not to give her an opportunity and not to try anything with her, but they just keep holding back. And now they've been doing the story on SmackDown where she's been trying to prove herself to Sonya Deville, and Sonya's kind of been jerking her around a little bit, really making her jump through a lot of hoops to finally qualify for this thing. Now that she's in it, to have her win it would be awesome. I would love it if Liv Morgan won. I think that would get a great reaction from the crowd. I think they would love to see her win. But with all of that being said, if Liv Morgan wins, she's on SmackDown. Not that she can't jump over to Raw. Would love to see her, cash in on Charlotte or Rhea Ripley or something like that. But I also think that there's more story to be told with her on SmackDown, especially with, Sonya Deville. I think Sonya Deville could possibly get in this match somehow, interject herself, take out Liv, and then enter the match. I also think Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, those are all possibilities for returns here in this very match could come out. But I've kind of talked about in recent weeks why I don't think it will be one of those women. First of all, with Becky, she was Raw Women's Champion for over a year. She beat Ronda Rousey. She had the year of years. The only reason she lost the title at all was because she gave it away at last year's Money in the Bank. Remember, put the belt in the briefcase, gave it to Asuka because she was going to become a mom. So, yes, Becky winning the briefcase and showing up unannounced and winning it would be a great surprise. It would be a great moment, and we all know how WWE loves moments, but would it make any sense? Goldberg, according to the reports, is going to show up on Monday and get himself a fucking title match against Bobby Lashley in his 50s, only wrestling one time this year and getting beaten under 10 minutes. What in the fuck gives him the right to have a title match? But they're giving him one. So with Becky Lynch, it's the same thing. Wouldn't it stand to reason if Becky Lynch came back after forfeiting the belt, never dropping it? She should just get a title match the minute her pretty little feet enter the building. As soon as she enters there with Seth and their baby, hey, Becky, guess what? You're getting a title shot tonight because you're the former champion. So I don't think that Becky Lynch needs this briefcase to get a title shot. So I'm ruling out Becky Lynch. No. I'm also ruling out Sasha Banks because Sasha Banks has been has been gone for a while since WrestleMania. And again, I know there's no automatic rematch bullshit and everything there, but a rematch between Bianca and Sasha, I think, would be very good. I think it would be almost necessary in a way. And it's something, again, that they've done many times before. A lot of times people work SummerSlam. They also work Mania. It's like a rematch type of thing. So I think that when Sasha comes back, just like Becky, she might not get a title shot as easily as Becky Lynch will, but she should very easily be able to find her way into a match with Bianca Belair. I mean, hell, they're just throwing title matches at Carmella. So why would Sasha need any sort of a prop to get a title match? She should just be able to come out to the ring saying, the women's roster is not very deep. I'm one of the best ones you got. Bayley's injured. Give me a title shot, Sonya and Adam. And they say, okay, you got one. So I don't think Sasha needs it either. So based on the field that we have here, if it can't be Liv Morgan, I think there's only one option here, Alexa Bliss. And that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Alexa Bliss. I think that more so than the men, if you're going to do a one-night cash-in, it's got to be with the women. You know what I mean? You could do it with Roman later or something. You could even do it with Lashley later based on his feud with the New Day and everything. But I think if Lashley's going to start something with Goldberg, that kind of spoils that no cash in there. And if Roman is going to do something with Cena, I think you could take the belt away from Roman and let Roman and Cena stand on its own, but you'd have to do a lot of work to get to that point. Roman would have to drop the belt, come out on SmackDown saying, I want my title back, and then Cena comes in and says, oh, not so fast. You're going to have to deal with me first before you get another title shot, and then you can allow Edge and Seth or whatever to do their thing. That could happen if you do a cash in there, but I don't see it. I think the men are going to survive tomorrow. Having one of them lose would be pretty interesting, but Lashley and Roman going into SummerSlam with the big W's around their waist, I think that needs to be where it goes. So I think Alexa Bliss is going to win this, and I think Alexa Bliss has a really good chance of showing up later on in the women's title match on Raw and cashing in. Now, how does Alexa win this? Does she pull any, there's no Thunderdome anymore, so you can't You can't fake it. You can't edit it. You can't film something 3 days ago and splice it in and have Alexa do any sort of magic tricks. Still not sure how the hell they did whatever the fuck they did at WrestleMania a few months ago. So maybe they do a deal where the lights go off, they come back on, and all of the women are laid out and Alexa's on top of the ladder holding onto the briefcase laughing, something like that. Maybe even the Fiend can show up and do enough to help Alexa Bliss win. Nikki Ash, can't believe they're calling her that now, could also play a role. I think her and Alexa could have a story going forward because holy shit have these two changed since their first little alliance when they were kind of like besties and Nikki and Alexa, and they were both somewhat normal, although Nikki's never been normal. Now they're both batshit, and, that could be a fun dynamic on TV. And Alexa, she could keep Lily in the briefcase if she wanted to hang on to the briefcase for a little while, maybe not necessarily cash it in tomorrow. But I think tomorrow might be a good spot for it, might be a good place to cash in. Rhea won the belt at SummerSlam. Take it off of her now in a screwy way. It gets it off of Charlotte. It might even be more fun if Charlotte beats Rhea Ripley. And then Alexa comes out and cashes in. That'll get a pretty big pop. Might even get a bigger pop than it would if it was over Rhea Ripley. So we'll talk about that we'll talk about it now because I was going to talk about the tag match. We'll do it later. So Rhea Ripley, of course, defending the Raw Women's title against Charlotte. I feel like this could go either way. This is where I feel like the best chance for a one-night cash-in could happen is right here. So you could do it a couple of different ways. You could have Charlotte Flair cheat, beat Rhea Ripley, fans get pissed, Rhea gets pissed, snaps, beats the fuck out of Charlotte, out of anger because Charlotte cheated. Charlotte's laying there, smashed through an announce table or something like that, and then out comes Little Miss Bliss and cashes in on Charlotte. That would accomplish a couple of different things here. Number one, it would get you a much bigger pop than if Alexa Bliss beat Rhea Ripley, although I think that would get a pretty good reaction too. But beating Charlotte would be even, because you got to understand the fans are going to be pissed when Charlotte wins the title. So they're going to have all this anger. Twitter's going to go nuts. You're going to have people canceling their Peacock. WWE always going back to Charlotte. Hey, Ric Flair's daughter. All that same shit that vomits out of the mouth, these idiots, every day. They're going to be going on and on about that on Twitter, and then Alexa Bliss will come out and beat her for it. That would be great. And it accomplishes, like I said, a couple of things because it also tacks on another title reign onto Charlotte's resume, where I think WWE is going to do to Charlotte's title runs what WCW did with Goldberg's wins. They're just going to make them happen, man. And even if they got to put the title on Charlotte for 15 minutes or less, 15 seconds maybe, even, it would accomplish that, and Charlotte can now add, how many times has she won the title now? Is it, okay, thank you, Mr. E. Is it going to be number 13? That'll be 13 for her. It took Ric Flair about 20 years to get to 11, I think, or 11 or 12 title runs or something like that. So, and she's already there in just a couple. So that could be something I would be into seeing. I actually wouldn't mind Charlotte winning, provided Alexa Bliss cashes in, or anybody cashes in for that matter. It doesn't have to be, it could be Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan cashes in, all the better. I just feel like Alexa is the most likely here. I can't believe I'm ruling out Asuka, but Asuka already had her long run with the title. She won the briefcase last year at the headquarters, and I kind of just rule her out, just like I do with Zelina. She ain't winning shit. Neither is Natalya, neither is Tamina, and neither is probably Nikki. Nikki is the one that should win. I think Nikki Ash should win the briefcase because she would be ridiculous with that thing, but I'm looking for the moment here. I'm looking for somebody to take out a champion on the first night, and you burn a briefcase now, and then you hang on to the other one. So that's kind of my prediction. Alexa wins Money in the Bank and then cashes in on either Rhea Ripley or Charlotte, but I haven't really given you a winner for Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte. Let's go with my idea. Let's go Charlotte cheating to win, Ripley getting pissed and beating her up. Because if Charlotte just beats Rhea Ripley clean with the figure eight, beats her in the middle of the ring and celebrates strong, she's not weakened. She's not compromised. There's no advantage for the Money in the Bank winner. So I think she needs to be, dismantled or something like that, or just decimated by Rhea Ripley, and then Alexa comes out and cashes in. So let's go. Alexa wins Money in the Bank. Charlotte beats Ripley. Alexa cashes in on her. Going out on a limb. Why not? Raw Tag Team titles are also on the line. AJ and Omos defending against the Viking Raiders. I got to go AJ and Omos here. It kind of seems like a filler match, one that they're adding to the card to where we don't have a 4-match card. And Riddle and Orton, sometime down the road, probably SummerSlam, need to collide with AJ and Omos, and I think that's what's going to happen there. So they will retain over the Raiders. WWE title on the line, Bobby Lashley defending against Kofi Kingston. Everything that we saw last week points to Lashley absolutely ripping Kofi apart here. He really got pissed at MVP last week, threw all the couches and shit out of the ring, cut a pretty passionate promo. He took a loss last week to Xavier Woods, and I think he's even dropped a match to Kofi as well. So Lashley's pissed. He's kind of getting back to business as well and refocusing himself, and I think he's going to dispose rather easily of Kofi Kingston. Now, if you do the men's Money in the Bank match prior to this, you could potentially have a cash-in here, I think. You could somewhere, but I don't know. I just don't know what the main event is going to be. I think the main event has to be Roman Reigns versus Edge. That's what I think the main event has to be. So let's go with the men's Money in the Bank match next. Competitors are Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Riddle, Ricochet, Morrison, Big E, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Seth Rollins. My prediction for this, 100%, I think it's perfectly obvious. The winner is going to be Ricochet. He is going to destroy all 7 of these opponents, and he's probably going to cash in on Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Ricochet is my pick there. In the match, I'm kidding. Let's go back to that. Not to give you guys a heart attack. Based on everybody here, Drew McIntyre, I'm not ruling him out, but I really don't want to see him win it. And Kevin Owens, I think, would be fun. Riddle would be really fun. But based on what everybody's doing, the only 2 that really stick out to me, aside from McIntyre, and I'm kind of just putting him out of my mind, the only 2 that really stick out to me are Riddle and Big E. Riddle would be fun. Riddle would be fun with the briefcase, and he could put weed in there or whatever, and he can annoy the hell out of Randy Orton with it. Maybe even Orton can kind of back up Riddle and, say, I've got your back. I'm going to help you win the title. There's a lot of fun possibilities there with Riddle winning the briefcase, and he's actually kind of the one I sort of want to see the most. But I think the one that makes the most sense is Big E. I think Big E has been on the cusp. The fans have been wanting this guy to get an opportunity for quite some time. If he wins the briefcase, he's another one of those guys. He's a babyface that would do great with the briefcase, because babyfaces are not always great for the briefcase. But he's one guy, and there's really good babyface options here. Owens, Riddle, and Big E would all be super briefcase holders. But based on Seth Rollins celebrating with the briefcase last night, Drew McIntyre has started this feud with Jinder Mahal. Riddle and Orton have got unfinished business because Riddle has been looking for Randy Orton, writing him love letters on Raw. Orton's been MIA, so I think he could turn up here as well and maybe cost Riddle, or maybe not cost him, because I think Riddle and Orton need to team back up and go on to win the tag team titles. I want to see their alliance continue. So maybe he doesn't come in and cost Riddle, maybe inadvertently costs Riddle or something like that. I don't know. But in the end, I think the person to have win the title is Big E. Or I'm sorry, win the briefcase is Big E. When you think about SmackDown, John Cena, yes, is about to come back, but a big-time babyface star on that brand. Big E is primed and ready to do that unless they jump him to Raw, which could also happen. If he went over there, won the briefcase, and then if this match takes place prior to Lashley and Kofi, then he could come in and cash in on Lashley after Lashley has beaten the hell out of his entire New Day brothers. He comes out there and cashes in on Lashley. That could happen. But I think you're only going to do 1, if any, briefcase cash-ins. If they do 2 tomorrow, I'll be really surprised, because I want to see a briefcase have a role on TV for a while. So having Big E run around with that briefcase for a little bit could be fun. They could pick their spot and time it right, because probably as of recording this podcast, I bet you WWE doesn't even know who's winning the briefcase yet. So they'll probably figure all that shit out tomorrow. But the way it seemed like last night with Big E kind of talking to the fans and closing out the show like that, it feels like he's a guy that WWE should really strap a babyface rocket to, because he gets reactions from the crowd. So I'm picking Big E tomorrow, which leaves us, I keep dropping my pen, which leaves us with the main event, what I think is going to be the main event, although I could be wrong. Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Edge. Edge has been awesome. He's been very believable during all of this. He's very intense, and you actually believe that he's got a legit shot to beat Roman Reigns here. But in the end, the story is with Roman. I think you got to keep the belt on him at least until SummerSlam, and he's going to be most likely starting his program with John Cena. He doesn't necessarily need the title to do that. You could do a situation here where Edge beats him, or you do get a cash-in. You know, it is possible Big E comes in and cashes in on Roman. If you don't do a women's cash-in earlier, could be possible that Seth Rollins wins the briefcase and cashes in on Roman, or cashes in on Edge. If they do a situation similar to what I proposed with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, a lot of different ways it could go. But in the end, I'm picking Roman Reigns to retain over Edge for the Universal title. You could have Seth Rollins get involved here. These two guys could even cancel each other out depending on where this match falls. If it happens before the Money in the Bank, Seth could come out and cost Edge, although I don't think that's going to happen because Seth said last night that he's rooting for Edge. So maybe Seth comes out to help him and fucks up and ends up helping Roman instead. That pisses off Edge. Edge comes out in the Money in the Bank match, attacks Seth Rollins, and the two of them brawl into the back, eliminating Edge from that, and then you're eliminating Seth from that, and then you get Rollins and Edge at SummerSlam. So there's lots of different ways you can get to Seth and Edge, but, I don't think it's going to involve a briefcase. So we're just going to go Roman Reigns to retain. So just to recap, Mysterios will retain over the Usos, but they will drop the belts to the Usos on SmackDown instead. I've got Alexa Bliss winning the women's Money in the Bank match and then coming in later and cashing in on a brand new Raw Women's Champion Charlotte, who cheats to win over Rhea Ripley. Ripley gets pissed, kicks her ass, and Alexa cashes in on Charlotte. I've got AJ and Omos successfully defending the Raw Tag Team titles against the Viking Raiders. Lashley over Kofi Kingston in the WWE title match. Roman Reigns successfully defending against Edge for the Universal title. And Big E winning the men's Money in the Bank. There you go. Finished up right at 420. How fitting. Hope you're watching, Riddle. So anyway, if you're watching this after the fact, leave me all your predictions in the comments down below. And don't forget, we will be back up here tomorrow for a live reaction of the entire pay-per-view. We're going to be up here watching it. We'll hang out after the fact and review it. And should be a fun day tomorrow. I am ready. But unfortunately, I got to go to work now and get my ass kicked at work. It's going to be fucking nuts. I'm going to be sweaty and beaten and broken and battered. But I'll be up here and I'll be ready to rock and roll for tomorrow. So I hope you guys have an excellent rest of your Saturday. Do me a favor and smash the thumbs up button on your way out the door as well. And let me just make sure I didn't miss any other super chats, which I think I might have missed one. There's one from Jimmy. Welcome back. Thanks again, dude, from Sweden. My favorite SmackDown theme is Do You Know Your Enemy by Green Day. God, I can't think of these in my head for some reason. Yeah, I guess it kind of rings a bell. I'm just so bad with this type of shit. I can't, piece it together. I'll have to listen. I'll go on YouTube and listen to all the SmackDown themes and try to find the one that I like the most. So some people have got the women opening. Some people have the men. I'm kind of with Tox and Ratnick and some other ones that think it's going to be the women. I think the women is the most likely, but it might not be the best match to open up in front of that crowd. It might be the men's match, especially if you have Big E and Alexa win. Alexa, I guess, is the heel, right? So Big E would probably get a better crowd reaction, a much better crowd reaction, I would think, than Alexa Bliss would winning the Money in the Bank. So it just depends on the order. I think the way I've got it here is pretty likely. I think it'll be women's Money in the Bank, then Raw tags. No, actually, I think it's going to be women's Money in the Bank, then the Raw tags, then Lashley and Kofi, then Charlotte and Rhea, then the men's Money in the Bank, then Roman and Edge. That's what I think, but who the fuck knows? I could be completely off and wrong there, but we will find out tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it a lot. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon, and I will catch you tomorrow for the reaction. Kofi and Lashley may open the show. Mr. E, you're right about that. Could be. It's got to be a big match. I think, either a title match or a Money in the Bank, because you got 3 world title matches and 2 Money in the Banks. One of those suckers has to open the show for sure. So you could be right about that. We will find out. You guys take care. Have a good one, and I will catch you tomorrow for the pay-per-view. It's going to be good. Y'all take care. Peace.